Hello, spooky crew. Our tote bag drawing is officially closed, and we just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who entered. We are so grateful for the love and the support, and we have loved reading your reviews. Missed the tote? No worries. We're still sending out high-quality vinyl stickers while supplies last. Just email us proof of your rating and review along with your mailing address to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, and we'll get one headed your way. Quick promise, your address is only for mailing the sticker. No emails, no selling info, no funny business, just spooky gratitude. Thanks again for supporting the show. You are the reason we do this. Hello, and thank you for hitting play on The Spooky Darlings. I'm Jeanette, and when my sisters Emily and Haley and I were kicking off this podcast, we tried out a few different names. We recorded this particular episode under the name Crazy Creepy Cool, but we are now officially The Spooky Darlings. Our email is thespookydarlings@gmail.com, and you can find us on Instagram at The Spooky Darlings Podcast, where you will find pictures that accompany each episode. Thank you for your patience as we work out things like name changes and audio issues. If you have not yet, please subscribe, rate, and review. We appreciate your support. Coming soon, our theme song. Warning, this episode covers some sensitive subjects like sexual assault and murder, so listen with care. Now, on to the pod.
Okay, let me set the scene. There's a cozy fire crackling behind my two sisters. If you hear pops, it's not because of a bad microphone. It's because the fire is real and it doesn't have a volume button.
None of us are prepared. Okay. Welcome to Crazy Creepy Cool. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jeanette.
I'm Haley.
I'm Emily.
And this is a podcast where today I am talking about the Wanda Beach murders in Australia.
Oh gosh!
This is a set of murders that happened in 1965 in Australia, and it is still considered an unsolved case. Maybe I should have saved that for the end.
Oh,
Nah, that's fine. Still considered an unsolved case, and along with one other case, which happened a year later, which is the disappearance of the Beaumont children, are considered sort of the two major unsolved cases in Australia.
so if you like resolution, get
Don't
ready
go to
for some blue
Australia.
balls.
Yes. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes,
And are you excited?
appropriately so.
Okay. All right. So this is the Wanda Beach murders. On January 12th, 1965, Peter Smith went out on a walk with his three young nephews. And this was summer break. The summer season in Australia goes from December 1st till the end of February. So their warm season is December, January, February, and that's summer. So this was summer break. Everyone's off for school. His nephews are staying with them. But they had had a weekend of pretty bad weather. I think the 12th was a Tuesday, so he took his nephews out. They couldn't go swimming. The surf was too rough. And they decided to go on a walk in the sand dunes that were close by to look
always
for
a mistake.
Oh, yes, walking in sand dunes. You already know where this is going. They decided to go for a walk to look for debris or any detritus that was sort of washed in by the stormy weather and by the heavy surf that they'd had. And they wandered into the Wanda Beach sand dunes from the Wanda Beach Club area. And it's really, Peter noticed it was super quiet, super remote. It gets really almost isolated in this area, even though you're close to the ocean. And he sees something strange in the sand, sort of between two dunes. So he wanders closer, trying to figure out what it is. And he sees sticking out of the sand what he thinks is a mannequin foot.
It's never a mannequin.
So he goes and he's like, what in the world? So, like, did someone leave this here or bring it here? He has his like three little nephews with him. So he goes and he grabs the foot. And that's when he realized it is not a mannequin. It's a real foot. And he can tell by how it feels that it belongs to a dead person. And then as he touches the foot, some sand falls away and a face is revealed.
Scary.
And so he realizes there's a body of a young girl and that she was definitely dead. And he also realized that there was really very little attempt to hide the body. It looked like someone had laid the body there and just sort of like scooped sand on top of the body. So he grabbed his nephews and they ran as fast as they could. They raced back to the Wanda Beach Club And then they explained what happened to the lifeguards at the Wanda Beach Club, who immediately called the police. When the police arrived and blocked off the scene, they came up and they saw that it wasn't just 2 feet that were sticking out of the sand, but it was 3 feet that they saw. And so as they carefully removed sand, they discovered that there were actually the bodies of 2 girls.
Oh, no.
Laying there. No hole had been dug. They had just been laid out and sand had been piled over them. And it didn't
Like
take...
hastily, like somebody
it just seemed like
quickly
hastily
was like covering up what they did.
or didn't bother, didn't seem to care.
Well, maybe wind covered them.
It's possible that wind covered them because it was a really windy day, but that particular area was a bit sheltered.
Yeah.
Because they would go into the sand dunes to sort of shelter from the wind. But
Right.
yeah, it could have been wind covering them. I mean, they're sand dunes. It seemed from my research that the police thought that the perpetrator had not taken the time to dig a hole, but had just piled sand on top of them.
Oh my gosh.
So it didn't take long for the police to link these 2 bodies that they had just found to a missing persons report that they had received the night before around 11 p.m. So now let me tell you about what happened the day before, but I'm going to take you back a few days. I'm going to tell you about our 2 victims, Marianne Schmidt and Christine Chirac, both of them 15 years old. And these girls were neighbors and they were best friends. And they had a really special bond because Christine's father had died a few years before and her mother had remarried and moved elsewhere, and Christine had opted to stay in her hometown, which was 2 hours away from Wanda Beach. And I actually don't remember what the town was, but 2 hours away from Wanda Beach. She had opted to stay with her grandparents.
I'm sorry, did you say how old these girls were?
15.
15.
Jim and Jeanette Tague are Christine's grandparents, so she lived with them. And then Marianne, her father had died the previous year, less than a year before her father had died of cancer. And so they really bonded over losing their fathers.
Yeah.
Marianne, her family, they were German immigrants. And this was post-World War II. So this was 1965. And their family had immigrated from Germany a few years before. There was sort of a program post-World War II where Australia had made a decision to try to increase their population. And so they were allowing up to 4,000 immigrants from certain countries.
Oh, wow.
And so there was a pretty huge German influx, especially post-World War II. A lot of Germans were trying to get out of the country and just what a bad economic place it was and totally war-torn from World War II. And
maybe some people want to run away from stuff.
I mean, perhaps.
Nazis.
And I'm imagining that probably because of the East and West Germany, that it was probably only people from West Germany that were allowed to immigrate.
Right.
So Marianne Schmidt was their last name. Their family had immigrated and they had... how many kids? Well, they had Helmut Jr. So the parents were Elizabeth and Helmut. And then the oldest boy was Helmut Jr. And I believe he was 17 years old. He was 16 or 17.
His name was Helmut.
Yes, a very strong German name.
With a UT or an ET?
UT, Helmut.
I was picturing E.T. Helmet.
Helmut is
and just nice.
Helmut's a really common German name.
That's fine. Helmut. It can be common. I just was
let me
oh.
pronounce it better. Helmut. And then Hans, and Hans was, I think that I saw in one report that it said he was 13, but then I watched an interview of him as an adult and he said he was 12 the day his sister was killed.
Your older sister just disappearing and you're just a baby boy.
Yeah, 12. Ugh. And then he had another sister, Trixie, and I'm actually not quite sure the age of Trixie. I think around 10. And then another little brother, Wolfgang, who is 7 on the day that Marianne went missing. And then they had a little baby, Norbert, who was probably 5-ish. And so that's
not to keep you from telling your story, but just that impact on that family is just so devastating. I mean, our dad didn't have a sister murdered, but she was killed in a car crash.
Awful way, yeah.
Oh, and he's still to this day, you just can see that his heart still aches.
It's devastating.
Yeah.
And Trixie, the sister, she only had one sister, Trixie, just said it ruined her life.
Yeah.
In later interviews, she just said it just destroyed my life, just completely life-changing experience where it's just and governs
senseless.
your
Somebody
day.
murdered these young girls.
Yeah, senseless. Yeah. It just like governs your life after that. It just sort of, it changes everything. It puts everything on a different path. So 7 kids.
7
in the family.
Okay.
Mother Elizabeth had been in the hospital for a while. Like, she had lost her husband the year before. So the mother Elizabeth had been in the hospital recovering from surgery. And Marianne and Christine went to visit her, and they asked her if they could please take the children to the beach the next day. So they were planning on taking the children on the 10th of January. And Elizabeth said, yes, go ahead. The girls had already been on New Year's Day. They had gone by themselves. And according to journal entries later, they had had like the best time. They're 15 years old. They had met some boys. They had kissed a couple boys, and they just had like a great time. And so then the next day, January 2nd, Christine stayed home, and Marianne and her older brother, Helmut, and then Hans, they all went, just all the Schmidt children went on the 2nd. And it's a pretty, like, when you go, there's a lot of people that go to the beach in Australia during the summer and just go for the day. It would be kind of like going from Portland, Oregon to the Oregon coast, where you just pack up and go for the day, because it's about a 2-hour bus ride or train ride. So the mom said, yeah, go ahead, take the kids, have fun, be safe, watch out for creepy old men kind of thing. And Christine had told her grandmother that she was so excited to go back to the beach because she was really excited to explore the sand dunes. And her grandmother, Elizabeth, said, stay away from the sand dunes, stay on the beach. You don't want to be messing around in those sand dunes. There's unsavory characters in the sand dunes.
Hiding out.
Well, and that's actually the truth. And these girls weren't from Wanda Beach. They just traveled there. But come to find out, as the investigation went on, the sand dunes were sort of a notorious place where people would participate in activities that were a bit illegal. Like, for
drugs.
Example, homosexuality was illegal at the time. This was the 60s. So it was a place where people would go and do that. It was also, I read somewhere that there was a nude beach that you could view from Wanda Beach. So perverts would go and try to look at nude people. But I only read that in one spot and never found corroboration. So I'm not completely sure.
You said it, now it's true.
Not completely sure. But it also, perhaps drugs, perhaps like drinking, just partying. It just was a place that wasn't really where a parent would want their 15-year-old daughters to be taking their younger siblings. Okay, so they went on their way. They left. They ended up not going on the 10th because it was raining and it was super stormy. So they decided to go the next day, the 11th, and they got up and it was still a little bit windy and the weather wasn't great, but they really, really wanted to go. So they left at 8:30, and Hans remembers, like he said, his last vision of his sister is her turning around and saying, see you later, and then leaving, and he never saw her again. And so they get on a bus, and they arrive, or a train, I don't remember. I think it was a bus. They arrived to Cronulla Beach, which is...
Wait, so do they have the younger children with them at this point?
They have all the 4 younger children. So it's Marianne and Christine and Marianne's 4 younger siblings. Who are Peter, Trixie, Wolfgang, and Norbert. And they arrived to Cronulla Beach around 11, and they are greeted with a beach is closed sign. So they can't swim. The surf is too dangerous. So they're a little bit disappointed, and they decide to just walk down to the south end of the beach because they can still kind of be on the beach. They just can't get in the surf or in the water. They walk down to some rocks. It's a little bit more sheltered. They have a picnic. They packed a picnic and they eat it there. And then Wolfgang really wanted to get in the water and go swimming. So Marianne took him to a place where there weren't very many rocks and where the surf was a little bit shallow and sheltered, and she felt like he could safely swim. And she let him swim for a little bit. And then they got out. And then Christine ended up leaving for a period of time by herself. She went off walking, and they're not really sure what she did or where she went.
Maybe she just needed a pause.
Perhaps she met someone, which leans into future things. So the kids aren't really sure what she did, but it was about this time that the little brother Wolfgang reported later to the police, and remember, he's 7, reported later to the police that he had seen a teenage boy crab fishing. And he said that he noticed the teenage boy had like a homemade spear with him and a knife attached to a belt around his waist, and that he was wearing gray pants and I believe no shirt, and zinc
like
oxide, zinc oxide on the nose. Well, and they would call the surfers, like there was sort of this was when surfing culture was pretty big, but it was still considered a little bit of a rough culture. I don't know, kind of like maybe how skaters were like in the 90s, It was like adults weren't so sure about it, but the kids sure thought it was cool because it was the 60s and Beach Boys and Elvis.
If your parent doesn't approve, it makes it better.
So the boys that would come to the beach and surf, they would call them surfies. And there were a ton of them, and they all looked the same. They were all blonde, tan, Australians. So keep that in mind. There's like a particular look of a surfie. So
are the crabbies and the surfies cross-countering? Like, are you crabbing and surfing?
Surf and turf wars.
The crabs are the surf and turf wars. Okay, so
I just have to pause and say, I love it that Haley is putting herself in this 15-year-old girl's position. She's like, I'm pretty sure she just needed some time to herself for a second. That's a lot of kids to be watching.
It's a lot of stimulation, and you got to take a walk sometimes.
She was an only child.
And then she moves in with her friend who has 6 siblings.
No, she lived with her grandparents.
They were neighbors.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, she lived with her grandparents who were next door neighbors.
Okay.
If Haley disappears on a walk, it's not because she's meeting somebody. It's definitely because she needs to be by herself.
I gotta be alone.
I gotta be alone, and I can't tell you why. I'd be like, that's so suspicious. Who's she meeting? Really, she's just like,
you just find me on a park bench with
not because I'm tired of all of you.
Ice cream cone in one hand, vodka in another.
That's actually more accurate.
A cigarette somewhere between these two fingers.
And I quickly throw it away. I don't want anybody to see.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so Christine had left for a walk. And so when she came back, they decided it was time to go for a walk. So they decided to leave most of their stuff there in the rocks where it was safe. They kind of tucked it behind a rock and it was safe and hidden. And then to go walk up towards the Wanda Beach Club and a little bit like into the dunes. So they're headed north. And if you get a chance to look at it on a map, you can kind of see it. I looked it up this morning, and it's you can see that the Wanda, there's like Cronulla. There's Cronulla Beach, which is a big, long beach, and then Wanda Beach is one part of it. Mm-hmm. And then just up above Wanda Beach, like inland, are the dunes, and they're a pretty huge area.
Maybe we could post on the Instagram, like
I do. I saved a picture to post on Instagram.
Oh, perfect.
I thought ahead. So they decided to head north, and they were exploring the sand dunes towards the Wanda Surf Club. As I explained earlier, the dunes were kind of a sketchy place. We're not so sure if the girls knew. It was just a fun thing for them. I mean, you know how
when you're
fun
15,
dunes are.
Yeah.
Like think about Agate Beach in Oregon and how fun it is in the dunes. And
also I feel like when you're 15, when somebody's like, hey, that's not a safe area, you're not thinking like of like the actual unsafe thing. It's just like, what? It doesn't seem unsafe.
Yeah. Well,
to me.
Yeah, that's true. And it's sort of, it's like, what your idea of a sketchy person when you are 15 is usually an old creepy dude.
Yeah, with like long stringy hair. But the most creepy people I've met are wearing suits.
So the wind started to pick up when they were on their walk for a little while. And so Marianne and Christine decided to find a place in the dunes that was sheltered, and they set the kids up. Christine had brought a transistor radio, and they told the kids that they were going to walk back down to the rocks, gather all of their stuff, come back, collect the kids, and then go home because it was just the weather wasn't working.
Right.
So they left, but their brother Peter noticed they were going in the wrong direction, and he shouted to them, hey, the rocks are that way. Where are you going? And the girls were giggling, and he said that he actually noticed like sort of a change in demeanor, and they were really excited. And so he called like, where are you going? And they said, we're going crazy, or we're going mad. That's what they said. We're going mad. And then they walked on instead of towards the rocks, further into the dunes.
Oh my gosh.
So the kids waited for a while, and then Wolfgang, the 7-year-old, decided to kind of go into the dunes by himself and explore. And his 12-year-old wise brother let him go by himself. And Wolfgang reported later to the police and to his, brother that when he went into the dunes, he saw Christine and Marianne, and they were with a teenage boy. And he said that the teenage boy was, that they were walking away, and the teenage boy had an arm around each girl, and that they walked up over a dune and then disappeared. And then Wolfgang just sort of hung out, I'm sure, finding a stick or something to play with. And then a little while later, the teenage boy came back and he had a blue towel slung over his shoulders, and he had the zinc oxide. And then Wolfgang later said he thought it was the same kid that had been crab fishing close to them. The boy came back without the girls and kind of just walked by Wolfgang, and Wolfgang called after him, "Hey, where are the girls?" And the boy didn't even turn around, didn't acknowledge him, just walked away. So Wolfgang then made his way back over the dunes to where his siblings were waiting, and he told Peter what he saw, and then they waited some more. And they waited until about 5 p.m., and it started to get dark at 5 p.m. I guess that must be how soon it starts to get dark in Australia. And Peter was realizing that if they didn't get going, they were going to miss the train home. So Peter gathered the kids, and they all walked together down to the rocks. And he was expecting that the girls, like, to find the stuff already picked up, but it was all still there. The girls' purses had been left there, all of their stuff, the picnic, everything was down by the rocks. So Peter gathered it all up, including the purses, and got the kids on a bus, and they ended up making it and taking the bus, the 2-hour trek home. When they arrived...
How scary at 12 years old. Like, well, I've got to get my younger siblings home.
Yeah.
But where's my sister and her friend?
Right. And no cell phones, no way to like ping someone's location.
Yeah, like
just
that. Zane is 12.
different world. I know.
Zane is 12.
Different sense of responsibility though for kids. Like it was completely like the idea of sending your
Like mom
4
left
young
me
kids.
with you in the 80s when you were 9 for like a whole weekend.
cared for you to my best ability.
Yes, you did.
I did my very best. Man, oh man. And I had nightmares that mom would die and I would be your main caregiver. Oh my gosh. I would just bawl. I would be like, I can't do it.
Gosh.
Just these dreams.
You had to grow up a lot quicker.
So the kids get home, and Peter tells Hans and Helmut, the boys that had stayed home. And Helmut and Hans had stayed home to paint the kitchen for their mom. So she'd come back to a freshly painted kitchen as
that's
a
so
surprise
thoughtful.
after her surgery. Isn't that sweet? That's the reason they'd stayed home. So Peter tells Helmut and Hans, and Helmut immediately goes next door to the Tags, to Christine's grandparents. And he said, "Do you know anything? The girls just disappeared at the beach. We have no idea where they are." And so Jeanette just knew. Jeanette is the grandmother. And I am Jeanette.
Great name.
I know, it's beautiful. So Jeanette had called the police. She just knew something was wrong. She called the police and made the report. And the police came immediately. Like they got there as quickly as they could.
Wow.
Which is good because these are 2 teenage girls. Like it's so easy to be like, they're probably with some boys. They probably are just hanging out.
Or you hear those horrible stories of just like the police are like, runaways. What are you going to do?
Or, they need to be, let's wait a little longer. They need to be missing longer. But the police actually came. They interviewed the grandmother. They interviewed the kids. So they got a good description of what the girls were wearing. And they sent out a APB, basically, whatever the Australian 1960s version of an APB is.
Yeah. Wait, I'm blanking on what APB stands for.
Oh, Haley, I can't tell you. I can't do that work for you.
Like all police blotter or something, right?
Oh yeah, all
something bulletin.
posted.
All post bulletin or
All
something.
points bulletin.
Okay, all points bulletin.
Not all police blotter.
Someone asked me to do that labor.
It's a secret. Look, you guys always keep secrets from me. I am the youngest.
Of all the questions to ask. So they put out, the Australian 1960s version of an APB, and they said that they were looking for 2 15-year-old girls, both medium height and build, and one of them, Christine, was fair complected and fair haired, and she was wearing a green and white blouse, white shorts, white briefs, which is underwear, and a white brassiere. And then Marianne was dark-haired and dark-complected, and she was wearing a black one-piece bathing suit with a white lace front, with a multicolored sleeveless blouse over the suit. And that's what they wore to the beach. And they put out the bulletin. And then Hans went the next morning, I believe. I don't think he went that night, to tell his mother that the girls were missing.
Yeah.
And she knew. She just said they're gone. She just knew. I think she was in that state.
You can feel it.
Yeah,
almost.
she just knew. She just said they're gone.
Oh my gosh.
And I wonder if it was just, I don't know, losing her husband right before and then dealing with this illness where she had been hospital bound and had to have surgery. If it was almost, I don't know, if you kind of like think about sometimes when people are in a little bit of a weaker state, they're almost, if you believe in like the ability to communicate like with the dead or something, it's almost like that veil is a little thinner or those communication lines.
I think you mean that's just when you're the most haunted.
You are the most haunted.
I just have to say though, and you guys are going to hate me for this, but like, when your kids are like late or not answering, you get that like roll in your tummy and you immediately think the worst and you're like, something's happened. And then immediately like, whenever they finally text back, you're like, I was overreacting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
If it turned out to be the worst, you'd be like, I knew.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like there's that instinctual feeling. I mean, I'm not saying that sometimes people don't have that intuition, but there is that feeling that I've had before where I'm like, this is what I've always been afraid of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out to be nothing. And I'm like, look at this idiot over here.
You're like, 10 minutes ago, Emily, what a wackadoo.
It's easy to like jump to the worst conclusion and then be like, see, I knew.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Also that. Yeah. I agree. I agree with both.
Well, it's not an argument. It's two different. I'm just telling you, Hans said his mother just knew. This according to Hans. And he's still alive.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, he just said she knew, and she just said they're gone. It was like just she knew. So,
and
as
Hans
you know,
was the older brother.
Younger than he was the younger than Marianne, but older, but the oldest of the younger kids. But he did not go to the beach.
Yes, he's
the
painted
12,
the cabinets.
He's the 13-year-old. How old did I say he was?
I thought it was 13. Because then there was the other.
Peter was 12 and Hans was 13. That's right. Hans was 13 and Peter was 11 or 12.
Okay.
Peter might have been 11. I don't know, 7 kids. They could have been back to back. But Peter, I actually had trouble finding the ages. I had trouble finding the ages. And the other thing I had trouble finding was the police released, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but the police released sketches, publicly released sketches of possible suspects. I could not find, there were 6 of them released and I could only find 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know if I found one. I think the one I found was actually a sketch of a different suspect, but not one of the 6. So
wow. Okay.
It's just really hard to find information.
Yeah.
So as you know, the bodies had been discovered and the police, it just took them a little while to realize that All Points Bulletin was referring to these girls. And this was so sad. They had to call in the uncle of Christine. So Christine's uncle came. And her aunt, and I don't remember her aunt's name, but her aunt said that Christine looked so much like her that people would always just say, is this your daughter? And that she had such a special relationship with her niece. And the uncle did too. And he had to come and identify both girls because the mom was in the hospital. And then the grandparents, I don't know if they were like too elderly, but
oh gosh.
He had to come and identify.
I mean, sometimes there's that family member who's like, hey, this will not be as hard on me as it would be on you. I'm gonna take this.
I feel like he was sort of that problem solver, probably the one where they're like, we can call him, he can take care of this difficult thing.
Yeah.
And he had recounted to the police a story where Christine had asked him, like pretty recently before the murder, she had asked him, what do I do if a boy attacks me? And he said, you kick him in the crotch. That'll make him, it's something along the lines of make him really thoughtful or something like that. But he said it more cleverly. I just can't remember what it was, but it was like
make him think twice. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so, and what's interesting is that he had given her that advice. The autopsy showed and the marks on her body showed that she really put up a fight. Like Christine really put up a fight. So I'm going to tell you about the crime scene.
Okay.
And it's not
Get
good.
ready. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Crime scene. All right. So here is what the police discovered when they removed the sand from the bodies. Marianne was found lying on her side with her leg bent, and she had been stabbed 14 times. But when her brother Helmut looked at the crime scene photos, he said it looked like she had been stabbed upwards of 30 times.
Geez.
Just was so violent. Her throat was slashed so deeply that she was nearly decapitated, and she had abrasions on her face. Christine, meanwhile, she was found face down, and Christine had been stabbed 7 times. and also had abrasions on her face and abrasions on her body that looked like scrapes.
Just like it looked like a fight.
Yeah, I think so. And she also had a head wound on the back of her head. So she was face down. So it was clear that she had been hit, like blunt force trauma to the back of the head with, they couldn't tell what, but it looked like either a rock or a log, and they couldn't find anything nearby that would have done it. So it's possible the killer left with that item or moved it somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
She had, and it's just awful. And Christine was wearing a bunch of gold jewelry that was valuable. So she had a necklace on, earrings, and a ring, and none of it had been taken. So the police ruled robbery out as a motive. And Christine, what the crime scene suggested was that there were drag marks that led from where Christine's body lay to another place, like about 30 yards away,
right,
where they found a puddle of dried blood. And so what they think happened is that the attacker first attacked Marianne and either killed her like pretty quickly or incapacitated her, and that Christine then took off running, and that the killer then chased her and left Marianne either dead or dying where she lay, attacked Christine from behind, probably hit her on the head with something, or most of Christine's stab wounds were in her back, and so overtook her and stabbed her, killed her there or incapacitated her there, and then drug her body. And it was apparent from the drag marks that there was a trail of blood, but then every so many yards there was like a puddle. So it was like there was the blood where they thought she had been killed, and then there was like a trail, but then there would be like a place where the blood was more dense, and then it would be like a thin trail. And so they think whoever drug her might not have been very strong, because they had to stop and rest from the pattern that they saw, from the drag pattern and the blood pattern. And so then Christine was then brought over. Both girls had evidence of sexual assault, but it looked like Christine's sexual assault was not a complete penetration, almost like he was unable to. So there was evidence of sexual assault on both girls, but there was semen found in Marianne. So they were able to collect that semen. And even though this was the 1960s and semen there wasn't a way to identify DNA with semen, the police still carefully stored it because they thought that it would one day, they knew technology was moving in a certain direction. Like they had already made advances in blood typing. Yeah. So they carefully stored the semen, and they also
semen, they can determine gender.
And they also found some blood DNA on Christine's shorts that was not the girls, and they stored that as well.
Good.
And did what they could. So Christine's injuries suggested a struggle. What the police determined was that the attacker attacked Marianne and really took her by surprise. And then when Christine realized what was happening and she tried to run away, he then overtook Christine. So the police brought in a bunch of equipment, and what they did with they cordoned off the whole area, and they brought in like a tractor and a sifter. There's a giant sifter, and you can find pictures of it. It basically looks like a giant window screen, and they just meticulously took all of the sand in that area and sifted it through the screen, through that sifter, so they could find evidence. And they actually found, this is what's crazy, is they found several knives.
Oh, wow.
But they only linked one knife as possibly being related to the murder, and it did have blood on it, but they couldn't tell if the blood matched either of the girls. But it was a broken piece of the blade of a knife.
Oh, crazy.
And so what they said was that particular piece itself, they weren't sure if that particular piece had made wounds, but it was possible that a broken blade with a similar style of knife, serrated on one side and smooth on the other, with a broken tip, could have made the wound. So it's possible that it was like that was the broken tip. But then the girls were stabbed with the knife without the broken tip, is what the.
So, sorry, quick question, just to clarify. When you say drag marks, are you saying lines in the sand where it showed that they were dragged, or are you saying marks on the bodies of the girls that showed evidence that they were dragged?
I think it was both, because they said that there were abrasions on Christine. Like both of them had abrasions on the face, but Christine had abrasions on her body. But the drag marks were in the sand as well, along with a trail of blood.
Okay.
that I told you about where it
Yeah.
like sort of seemed to puddle
So
and then like be a thin trail then puddle.
It was like definitely a protected area because like beaches, wind, that evidence didn't get blown away.
Well, and it had been raining, so I think that the sand was probably a little bit heavier because they had had a rainy weekend. And Helmut, the oldest brother, like went to the scene later, like where the bodies had been found, and he said that it was so isolated and remote that if someone was screaming, you wouldn't hear. Like with the ocean and with just where it was at,
Oh my goodness.
he said that you could scream your head off and nobody would hear.
Oh, that's so scary.
I mean, and you think about that, like if you have ever like played, like gone into a place like at the beach, it is, there are places where the sound just kind of seems to get sucked away where you can't hear someone, even if they're kind of close to you. It's just like, it's almost, it seems to be a sound void in those dunes.
Wow.
Forests too, forests do that too. That's why I'm always like, stay where I can hear you and see you. I'm gonna take my kids huckleberry picking. Okay, so the police put out an announcement about the crime and asked for anyone who had seen anything to call in and report. And like within, I think, a year, they had over 7,000 tips.
Wow.
And had interviewed like 500 people. But by the time they, like in 2014, because they did some more stuff with 2014, it had been 16,000. They had like, it climbed up to 16,000 tips.
Wow.
Because people would think of things way later that, you know, as a teenager.
Like, seemed suspicious, yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, so many of the people that had been around were like the surfers.
Yeah.
And they were already kind of had a bad reputation. And I think that there were a lot of kids that didn't want to come forward and say something. Or people, like if you were, you know, like having some clandestine relationship and together two men, you know, even though if it was innocent and you weren't part of it, you didn't want to come forward and say, this is why I was at the beach. So a lot of people never came forward. The last certain sighting of the girls was they were seen by a man named Dennis Dostine, and he was a local fireman, and he was out walking with his son, and he saw the girls walking away from the Wanda Beach Club into the dunes, and he said that they seemed to be in a hurry, and one girl kept looking over her shoulder.
Oh gosh.
Like she was looking for someone. And so Dennis, like he's a fireman, I think he's just kind of one of those men that's just always on the alert.
Just like take note.
And so he looked to see if anyone was following the girls because he was like, oh, they, you know, she looks alarmed. But he said he couldn't tell, like, were they afraid or were they like excited, nervous? It was like he couldn't tell. So he looked and he couldn't see anyone following the girls.
Okay.
A few other people had said they had seen the girls. There was one man that said he had seen the girls earlier in the day with the kids and then had seen, he was like a 50-year-old man who was there with his family, and he had then seen Christine and Marianne walk away and had seen a teen boy with a zinc oxide on his nose, just like Wolfgang had said. And this is what's really interesting is there's a lot of reports that Wolfgang's testimony wasn't reliable. Like when I did my research, a bunch of people were like, we can't take what Wolfgang said. He was 7 years old and he changed his story every time police asked him, and he was really impressionable. But I watched a video of the detective inspector who had interviewed him, who was one of the head detectives on the case. And he said that they approached Wolfgang's testimony with a lot of caution at first, but then determined that it could be trusted because everything Wolfgang had claimed was corroborated by someone else.
Right.
And so it's just interesting because there's so many different takes on this case. Like, you know, don't try, like a lot of people just said they couldn't trust what Wolfgang said, but then from the detective's mouth in the video. So that's what I'm going to go with, is that Wolfgang's testimony can be trusted, which really forms my opinion about what I think happened, which I think it was the kid that Wolfgang saw.
The crabber kid.
Yeah. I think that it was probably him, the surfy, which, you know, who could that be? He was, like I said, the description was blonde,
like 17,
tan. Wolfgang said 15. Wolfgang said 15 to 16-year-old, like teen. And of course, you know, ages of teens are hard. Sometimes you have someone in their 20s who looks really young, and sometimes you have a really young kid who looks old. So, and this was a 7-year-old determining age. So there were some other suspects. There had been what the police came to call the fat man, and it was just a guy they said he was like skinny fat, like very unfit and flabby, and that he had been around the beach hassling women for like a week. And no one had really reported seeing him interact with the girls, but they had seen him on the beach the same day as the girls and as the Schmidt kids.
Okay.
And several people reported seeing him and reported like that he would do inappropriate propositions to women, try to show them porn.
Oh gosh.
And so they put out like, a description of him and said, we really want to talk to this man. And then he never showed up at the beach again. They don't know who he is. One woman came forward years later and she said, I know that the fat man, because there was a sketch release, he was my boyfriend at the time. And he might have done it, but they tracked that woman's boyfriend down and he absolutely had an alibi and was not at the beach that day. So it wasn't him. They never got the identity of Fat Man. So they had the surfy teen. They don't know the identity of surfy teen. The fat man, they don't know the identity of fat man. There was another man that 2 girls who had been riding horseback that came forward and had interacted with the Schmidt children. They said that like the younger kids had come up when the older girls were off, after the older girls had left, the younger kids had come up to the girls on horses and asked if they could ride their horses. And the girls on horseback were like, no, our horses are a little too rough for you. Kind of like dismissed the kids. They had, when they were riding in the dunes, they came like from one dune to another and there was a man just naked kind of standing there. And he was holding his clothes, holding like a pile of clothes, walking. So they reported him, but no, and I think someone else had reported seeing the naked man, but they never identified who he was. But this was like normal. This is the dunes. Like this was just what the Wanda dunes, like that could have just
sometimes had nude dudes in the dunes.
Yes. And then there was another man that was like a flasher who apparently was flashing. And I don't know, I think Naked Man and Flashing Man were 2 different people. It kind of seemed like it was different reports, but there was someone else that was flashing people. And then there was another man who had like half buried himself in the sand and sort of had his head covered with like corrugated wire.
What?
And some man saw him and thought, well, he's clearly a peeping Tom and he's trying to hide himself. And on top of that, like within the course of a year, they had 5 people confess to the murder, but they were all false confessions. Like one man came forward and said he blacked out that whole day. He had no memory of the whole day, but came to with like blood on his clothes or something. But I can't quite remember. They took him to the scene and then he suddenly started to remember, but it was like all of the details he gave didn't match the actual crime. Like he took him to a different place. Not the same place in the dunes. It was like 400. It was like very far away. It was quite far away. And he said that he dug a very deep hole, which no hole had been dug. And someone else came forward and said, no, he couldn't have done it. He wasn't there. So there were like all 5 of the confessions proved to be false. Yeah. So they ended up with 3 main suspects. And I'm going to tell you about those guys now.
Perfect.
And this is where my notes go to paper. And I wrote sloppily.
Yay!
Okay, so the first suspect was a man named Alan Bassett. And Alan Bassett, at the time of the murder, would have been 20. He was convicted a year later of the murder of a woman named Carolyn Orphan from Wollongong, which is a place that's kind of close to the Wanda Beach area. And he killed Carolyn on June 11th, 1966. So just a little more than a year later. And he had met Carolyn, they had met at like a nightclub and they hit it off, and Carolyn liked him and told her friends she was leaving with this guy, that he had to ride home. And the friends described, like they weren't even really worried because they met the guy who was super charming. Alan was really charming. And they said that Carolyn just seemed really excited and just like bounced into his car. And then they never saw her again.
Oh my gosh.
But they had gotten a good description of him. And I think that he had introduced himself. They even knew his name. So when Carolyn didn't show up for work the next day and the friends couldn't get a hold of her, they were able to, identify who it was. And her body was also found very quickly, again, by someone walking who thought she was a dress mannequin, like one of those dressmakers mannequins.
Oh, it's never a mannequin.
Yeah. Thought she was a dress mannequin. And
I just have to say, I love it when criminals are dumb. Sorry, go on.
Well, he was not smart, but
what was his name again?
His name is Alan Bassett, and I'm going to tell you more about him.
I don't want to do anything other than look up his picture.
He was handsome. He was a handsome man.
Ooh, I want to look him up.
Mm-hmm. And Carolyn was beautiful. Carolyn Orphan. I think it's Orphan if you want to look her up too. So Alan confessed to what happened because the police came and found him, and he confessed almost immediately. Like at first he denied it for a minute and then confessed. And he said that He met Carolyn. He really liked her. They hit it off. He went to take her for a ride. They were just having this happy car ride home. And then he said something overcame him and he couldn't control it. Well, find a better picture.
I know. I didn't think he seemed that handsome either. I'm like,
So he's what he said happened was something just overcame him and he had no control. And so when he even went on trial, he told the judge he shouldn't be charged with murder because he couldn't control himself. And the judge was like, oh no, it's murder. You murdered someone.
Yeah.
This is the definition of murder. And
Idiot.
he said that he just couldn't control himself. He attacked her. He sexually assaulted her and then drug her body out of the car and choked her with her pantyhose. First, he tied her up with her pantyhose, choked her, tied another pantyhose around her neck, and then he killed her by smashing her head in with a rock. So it was like so violent, but the wounds were similar. Like they felt like the attack was similar and had the same kind of anger as the attack on Wanda Beach. The Wanda Beach girls.
So was this before or after Wanda Beach murders?
Carolyn's murder was after Wanda Beach. So it was over a year later.
Okay.
And he didn't really become a strong suspect until actually like 5 years later.
One of Nettie's children is throat singing in the background.
I think it's Natalie. Or it might have been Theo. I don't know. Hey, don't. She's singing If I Were a Rich Man. She's her new dream role is Tevye. She's been singing it for days. Okay, so I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, the wounds, like it was such a vicious attack, and the way that she was left reminded them of like the same viciousness that the Wanda Beach murders were, that the girls were attacked. But okay, so let me tell you the main reason why there was one detective especially, and the main reason why he thought Alan Bassett was the guy. He was certain Alan Bassett was the guy, and his name was Cease Johnson, CES, and that's how it was pronounced in the podcast. Cease. He interviewed Bassett trying to see if he could get him to confess. Because within a year, so after the Carolyn orphan murders and after the Wanda Beach murders, there were two other murders that a lot of people just thought, well, this is probably our Wanda Beach killer, did these murders too.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know if they're connected because the victims aren't the same. One of them was a 54-year-old woman named Wilhelmina Kruder. I'm sorry, my handwriting is super sloppy and I can't read it. Kruder. And she was found like in the basement of a stair. She worked like at a laundromat and she was found like at the bottom of the stairs and she had been savagely beaten and sexually assaulted and stabbed a bunch of times with a similar knife to the Wanda Beach. But like 54, the age, it doesn't seem like the same killer that would be after a 54-year-old woman would be after 15-year-old girls, but who knows? Like there are killers that killed people of all ages.
Yeah. What's his face? The satanic one, Night Stalker.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
The guy with the big hands?
The Night Stalker.
Not Menendez.
Richard Ramirez?
Ramirez, yeah.
Yeah.
Ramirez, he had really big hands.
He did?
Yeah, like gigantic hands. That's what I always think of.
Bad breath.
Really, really huge hands. And then he would kill people with his giant hands. So there was another victim, and this girl was a shop girl and also was a sex worker, and her name was Anna Toskaya Dowlinkoa. And she was out at a club with friends and told her friends she was going to go meet a client. So we can assume that the client was part of her sex work and that's who she was meeting. And then she went missing, never seen alive again. But her body was eventually found by a trucker who stopped to change a flat tire. And when they found her body, they found that she had been dead for like a week, but her body had been drugged from like 3 days prior. So she had been dead for 4 days and then someone came and moved her body closer, more out in the open.
Oh my gosh.
And so they think that whoever the killer was wanted her to be discovered.
Yeah.
And was frustrated that she hadn't been discovered after 4 days. So then came and moved her body. And so then it took her, moved it, like she was in the brush and then he moved her out.
Closer to the highway or road or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it didn't give exact details what her wounds were, but they said that they were similar to the Wanda Beach murders as well. Yeah. And so this detective, Cease Johnson, he went and visited Alan regularly in jail. Alan ended up gifting this detective a painting. And when Detective Johnson got this painting, he kind of just like didn't pay very much attention to it. He put it away, and then he pulled it out like a year after it had been gifted to him, and he looked at it closely, and he realized that it depicted an abstract landscape. And Detective Johnson became convinced that Alan Bassett had painted the sand dunes and painted the scene of the crime of the Wanda Beach murders, but in a kind of an abstract way.
Oh my gosh.
And I cannot find a picture of the painting. I searched and searched and searched.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure there is one somewhere, but the algorithm wouldn't bring it up for me. But he said that it showed blood trails, a knife blade, and what he thought was the body of a victim. And the name of the painting, A Bloody Awful Thing.
Oh my
was the name of the painting.
Oh my gosh.
The detective also said that within the painting, there were clues that indicated that this killer also killed Wilhelmina Kruger and Anna Toskayoa Delinkoa.
Jesus. Wow.
Oh, are you trying to find it?
Just giving it.
I am, but
Lola is too. Natalie, no, this one.
I'm Haley.
This one. She's not my daughter. She's my sister.
Jeez.
So this is the crazy thing is, so Cease Johnson was convinced that it was Alan, and very few other detectives bought into it. They were kind of like, I don't know, there's other suspects that we think are more viable. We really think it's reaching. We don't see what he's seeing in this painting. Mm-hmm. But Alan Bassett's father believed it was his son. He said, I think it was my son that did the Wanda Beach murders. I think my son killed these other women. Oh. And when Alan Bassett was up for parole in 1995, Alan Bassett's father showed up and said, don't let my son out. I believe he committed these murders. Because he was only ever actually charged and convicted for Carolyn Orphan's murder. It was just suspected for the other ones, but he never confessed.
Oh my gosh.
Ever. Also, Alan was diagnosed as schizophrenic, which I think is part of the reason why he was able to be released eventually, because he was sentenced to life in prison, but with the possibility of parole, I guess, because then he ended up only serving 25 years or something.
Oh, gosh.
Released in 1995.
Oh, so his father even being like, hey, don't let my son out.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything.
Like, yeah.
And Australia, I think their justice system is a little more lenient than the U.S. in some ways.
Yeah, I perhaps feel that way, although when I get into the case I'm going to do next, when I get into the beauty queen killer, you're going to find that there's a lot of leniency for certain types of people.
Weird.
So, but more on that later. So, and Cease Johnson had been writing a book about all of the reasons he thought Alan Bassett was the killer, and it was almost completely written, and he got hit by a car and killed.
No way.
And no one else, none of the other detectives had the passion for it to try to bring it forward.
Oh,
there was, though, a reporter named Bill Jenkins, and Bill Jenkins, he ended up being one of the first reporters on the scene of the Wanda Beach murders, so he had very much inside knowledge. He also bought into the idea that it was Alan Bassett. So that's like a really, one of the lead detectives and one of the head reporters both thought it was Alan's.
Him. And he's out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's out.
He's a free man since 1995.
Yeah, and as far, I didn't find anything that said that, where he was or what he was doing, but yeah, he's
Probably
out.
Changed his name.
Now, a second suspect.
Okay.
This guy is named Derek Percy. And
Sounds like a dick.
Is considered the prime suspect. Like most of the detectives thought it was this guy.
Oh, really?
Yes. Derek was a convicted pedophile. He is in jail for the 1969 murder of a girl named Javon Toohey, 12 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And he is suspected for the deaths and disappearances of several other kids, like so many that they can't even count. And
oh my gosh.
I'm going to try to kind of tell you a little bit about his life. He was raised like in a pretty, a family that I think was pretty affluent because they would go to yacht club things all the time. And as a kid, he was considered really strange. Like his classmates didn't like him. There's a report of two schoolmates that saw him when he was probably 13 or 14. Sometime in his young teens, they were walking through the forest and they saw him standing in a river, dressed in a woman's, what's it called?
Oh gosh.
Under thing, almost like a tutu, but not a tutu. He was dressed in like these women's underclothing, and he was holding a pair of women's underwear.
I just have to say, some kids deserve to be bullied.
Yes, for sure. So these kids didn't alert, they didn't like call out to him or anything. They just kind of hid and watched because they wanted to see what he would do. And he was standing in the river, and he pulled out a knife and a pair of women's underwear and violently stabbed the women's underwear, just like slashed it, and then took a shit in the river. And that was the thing with Derek Percy, is he had an obsession with shit and with like pooping. That was like one of his obsessions, but no human feces that was like fresh or could be connected to the crime was found near or at the scene. So, but it doesn't mean it wasn't him.
Sometimes you just can't go, even if you want to.
That's true. Even if it's your fetish. So he was also a suspect in the Beaumont children's disappearance, which happened almost a year later to the Wanda Beach murders. Was the Beaumont children's disappearance, where 3 children went to the beach by themselves and never made it home. Never found their bodies, though. Nothing, no trace of them. It is really interesting. I don't know very much about it, but I have heard a podcast about it.
Oh my gosh.
I still remember it. Derek Percy was his name. Derek Percy,
who should have been bullied more when he was a child.
he murdered Yvonne Toohey, but when he took Yvonne, she was with an 11-year-old boy, and I can't remember his name, but they were together, and he grabbed Yvonne and put her in his vehicle, and then he tried to get the boy. He was trying to get the boy, and the boy had a tomahawk because he was out like hatcheting wood.
Yeah, 'cause you're 11.
Because he's 11, and the boy waved the tomahawk at him, and Derek just gave up and took off with the girl.
Oh my gosh.
And then awful. He's terrible. I don't even want to go.
That boy is okay.
No, I'm sure he's not. It actually makes me think of All the Colors in the Dark. Like if you're, witness to something so terrible. Yeah, it's just
what it just can do to your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that he has like the thoughts, like he almost wishes he would have done something. But
chopped at the guy. 11.
And so this guy, Derek, like they found journal entries, and he would just like write about his fantasies of raping and murdering children.
No.
And just, it's pretty grim and gruesome. And
if you want to read about it, look it up yourself.
So this is what's interesting when we're talking about like the justice system. He was actually found not guilty by reasons of insanity for the murder of Yvonne Toohey, but he was put away for life with no possibility of ever getting out because the judge and the psychiatrist deemed him as irreparable.
Irreparable, yeah.
Like, no way to heal it. Menace to society. If he gets out, he'll obviously hurt children again. And even in prison, his writings, he's dead now. He died of cancer in like 2013 or something. But his writings were constantly about his fantasies about being violent towards children and raping and killing children. So they don't know for sure, but there was his parents took him to all these yacht club things. So it's possible that Derek was there at the time where there was yacht club happening, and he would have been from where his parents would have stayed for the yacht club event. He would have been on the same bus or train route that the girls took.
Oh gosh.
And so the kids do remember that the girls were approached by a tall, skinny boy on the bus on their way there that morning, but the kid stayed on the bus when they got off.
Do you know how old he would have been at the time?
He was 15 at the time, which is the age. But this is what's interesting. He was 15, which is the age of the surfy boy that they saw him with, but his looks don't fit with that. He was taller and like more awkward, and I think darker haired or something.
Right.
But so he does not match the description of the surfy teen, but he did match the description of another sketch that the police released.
Oh gosh.
But I don't know which one, because they had like names for them. But he was like slim, so it wasn't the fat man. Yeah. They questioned him on his deathbed, hoping that he would admit, and he never confessed to the Wanda Beach murders or any of the other murders that they're pretty certain he did. And they also think that most likely he's responsible for the Beaumont children's disappearance.
Gosh.
Okay, so that brings us to our third main suspect, Christopher Wilder. Christopher Wilder was considered a suspect like in the few years after the murder. And he was actually pretty high on their list. He had been suggested to the police by his mother-in-law. So Christopher, he ended up being a serial killer in the United States. And so when he was reported as a serial killer, they looked into him again and he became even a stronger suspect. But they found out that he had actually been a suspect in the Wanda Beach murders from the get-go.
Whoa.
The police had, okay, so let me tell you real quick about his marriage. So he met his wife, and we don't know her name. You cannot find it anywhere. Like every report about it, like even in this book I'm reading about him, like the family has said, please don't use our name, because she wanted to just move on and start over because it was such a horrible marriage for her. So she was with her family. She was 20, and she was with her 15-year-old sister, and they met a 20-year-old Christopher Wilder. Okay, so the timeline would be, they would have met and married after, like 5 years after the Wanda Beach murders, but she still thinks her husband did it. Like, but he would have been like, he would have been 19, but it was still like 5 years after the murder that they got married, I think.
So he would have been 19 at the time of the murders.
Of the Wanda Beach murders.
Or at the time of the Wanda Beach murders, but 24 when she married him.
Yeah, roughly.
And then later felt like maybe he had done it.
Yeah. So he met his wife, who's we don't have a name for her, and her family. She had a 15-year-old sister, and he came up and like charmed the family, but everyone noticed that his interest was in the 15-year-old sister.
Ew.
But he wasn't that inappropriate. His just focus was on her more. So like he invited the family out to do stuff, offered to show them around, and then kind of like kept coming over more and more. And then the father took him aside and said, you are showing interest in my 15-year-old daughter, and she's too young for you. And he just was like, oh, no, you misunderstand. I'm interested in your other daughter. I'm interested in the 20-year-old daughter, whose name we don't know. And so the parents started to get kind of a bad feeling about him. And so did the 15-year-old sister. But this girl was just enamored.
20-year-old.
Yeah, she was enamored, and he kept taking her out. They dated kind of against the parents' wishes, and then they got married. And it was like 1 year. Okay, so there's all these reports that their marriage was only a week, but it was actually a year, according to the guy that wrote the book on Christopher Wilder. It was actually a year. So don't listen to any reports that say it was a week.
Okay.
So he had been married to her for a year. During that time, she says that he tried to kill her on at least 2 occasions, probably more. Three times, because one time he was really good with cars, really into cars, understood cars, and he was in charge of her vehicle maintenance. And there was one time when her brakes went out, when she took it to a mechanic, they said that her brake fluid had been drained, that it had been purposely drained. Then there was another time where something else malfunctioned on her car. I can't remember what it was, but so there were 2 things where her car malfunctioned, where her husband was in charge. And she said that it wasn't until after that she like was able to admit that it was him.
Oh my gosh.
But at the time it's like she knew, but couldn't admit it. Like it was her,
how can you admit something like that to yourself?
She was a newlywed.
Right.
Yeah.
And then one morning she woke up to the smell of gas, and she realized all of the gas valves in the kitchen were on, and she looked out of the window, and her husband, Christopher, was just standing on the lawn staring in. So she walked outside and she's like, did you turn all of the gas on? And he got like, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. But she didn't turn it on. So then before they got married, actually, when they were engaged, he had showed up at his mother-in-law's house, didn't knock. She was there alone. The mother-in-law said she came out, and he's just standing in the hallway, and he came onto her. He said, I want to talk to you. Will you come sit by me? And she's like, I'll sit. He wanted her to come sit on the floor with her. He's like, will you just come sit next to me on the floor? She was like, no, I'm not. I'll sit with you. You can sit on a stool in the kitchen. And then he's like, can we go back into your bedroom? I need to know about sex, is what he said. And she was like, this is inappropriate. You need to get out of here. I'm not the one to teach you about this. Oh, and he had threatened his wife, the one he married. He had threatened her at some point with like sexual pressure. And then she cried and was like, I'm not ready. And then he like backtracked. So he did a lot of manipulative, coercive things to try to get women to give him what he wanted. Oh gosh. Then he called up the younger sister and pretended to be a modeling agent, but she knew it was him. He tried to use like a different accent. It was like, I'm a model agent. Were you at a wedding? At this thing, she's
just
like, yeah.
plugs his nose. I'm a modeling agent.
This is what he did. He went so far as to find out if she was at a wedding, said he saw a picture of her and that he was an agent and that she could be a famous model and she was perfect for this campaign. And then she realizes it's Christopher. She's like, Christopher, I know this is you. And she hangs up on him. He calls back, disguises his voice again, and goes, hi, this is the boss of the agency. And you didn't believe my my other guy.
Oh my gosh, what an
So, but
absolute dork.
She actually believed him. This time she was like, oh my gosh, I guess I was wrong. You know, she's 15. She's like, I guess I'm going to be a model. I'm 15. And, but then she made like some kind of arrangement with him, but then told her mom about it. And mom's like, no, you're not going to meet a random modeling agent I don't know.
Yeah, some dude.
So when he called back, the mother answered the phone and she knew right away it was Christopher. And so she put a stop to that. And then when they told the sister, you know, the one that he's married to, she just didn't know what to say. But at that point, she had found pictures in his drawer. And they were pictures of women that were naked or wearing her underwear and her bikinis that had gone missing. She didn't know where they had gone. And so he was taking them and taking photos of women.
He was doing it to other women. Oh my gosh.
And then there's something that she found out. We're not sure what. She told her mom she thought that Christopher was responsible for the Wanda Beach murders. And her mother, they went to the police and the police told her that not to go back home. And she was like, I agree. So Christopher was arrested, questioned. Oh, no, he wasn't arrested for the Wanda Beach murders. She turned him in for something else, for some kind of sexual assault, like came in and gave evidence about a woman who had accused him of sexual assault.
Oh my gosh.
A nurse who he had convinced her to take photos. First convinced her he was going to like be her modeling agent, and then took a bunch of photos of her and then threatened her to take nude photos and then use those nude photos to blackmail her for like months until she finally went to tell the police. And then his wife came in to corroborate because she found the pictures.
Okay.
Something like that happened. When they turned him in to be questioned for the Wanda Beach murders, because they turned him in later, he left the country. The police could not find him. He, when they finally went to his parents' house to like see if they knew where he was, his mom said that he had left like 2 days before for the United States. And
my gosh.
Written on all of his files, it's just can't be taken any further. So he was a suspect, but they just said they couldn't take the inquiry any further because he was now in the United States.
Oh my gosh.
So he was the third major suspect.
What was his name? Did he fit any of the descriptions?
Yes, he absolutely fit the surfy boy description. Other than he was older, he was 19. He was, though, the blonde, hung out at the beach all the time. Christopher Wilder. And I don't look him up, though, because I'm talking about him next week.
I just want to see a picture.
Well, you're going to find pictures of him when he's older and balding.
Gross.
So look up teen. Look up teen as a teen.
Ew, Nettie.
Okay. So in 2020, there was a new lead in the case. And the new lead was this woman who had been married to a man. Her daughter came forward, and we don't know his name. They won't release his name because they don't want to give away the identity of the daughter. And the daughter would be in her 40s now. But in 2020, her daughter and the daughter's aunt, so it would have been this guy's sister, came forward and said that this guy had been a pedophile and he ended up being charged and put in prison. And then his wife came forward and said that he had confessed to the Wanda Beach murders on their first date. He had said, do you know about the Wanda Beach murders? And she was like, yeah, of course. Because, you know, everybody knew about it. And he said, well, I did that. And she said that he just said it very seriously and that she just laughed it off. And she was like, don't be silly. Of course you didn't. And that he just paused. And he had said, you're right. I didn't do it. But she said that like at the time she was just like, oh.
Wait,
I'm
so sorry. I think I kind of zoned for a second. What was this person's name?
No name.
Oh,
they won't give the name. They won't release it because it would give the name of the victims because he's the father of the victim. But it was
not of the Wanda Beach victim, but of another victim that he's in prison for.
He's a pedophile. Yeah. Oh. Give the name of his daughter. He was accused of pedophilia by his daughter and by his sister, even though they accused him like when she was in her 40s and he was like in his 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
They won't release his name to the public because it would give up
the victims.
Her identity.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
And so the wife came forward and said he confessed. At the time I didn't take him seriously, but now that I was married to him for 40 years, I absolutely know what he's capable of, and he absolutely could have been responsible.
Oh gosh.
So then I found this on a Reddit thread where they were talking about the case, and this person said they lived in Australia, and I don't know how to validate this, but I thought it was interesting. Okay, this is about the Wanda Beach case, right? Not the pedophile case we were just talking about. I reported to the detectives on this case regarding a guy who was boarding at my parents' house at the time of the murders. He perfectly fitted the profile reported on TV. I was out in a rowboat with him, and he was offended by something I'd said and stood up with an oar and was going to strike me with it, but he lost balance and had to quickly sit down. He was in Cronulla all that day and all that night of the murders. My mother said he had burned some clothes and shoes in a 44-gallon drum we had in the backyard as they had blood on them.
What?
His explanation was that he had encountered two men who had been shooting rabbits and had somehow got the blood on himself.
Oh, and you burn it?
As stated, I passed all this information on to the detectives, but he was interviewed, but nothing came of it. Still deeply bothers me, even to this day. About a year ago, I got in touch online to the department who handles cold cases and even got a reference number, but he hasn't heard anything, or she, I don't know who the person is that wrote this.
Oh my gosh.
In response, I should add, this guy freely admitted to holding a knife to his own mother's throat and thought it was amusing. He did not fit the description of a blonde surfer, as he was quite tall, dark, and slim, and he was born in Germany. I don't know why that matters, but Marianne was German.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So that's interesting. And I wonder why the police didn't take it further, or if he had some kind of alibi, like maybe he was at the beach, but he was with someone all day. It just seems odd that with the report of burning bloody clothes, after a murder, that it wouldn't be taken more seriously.
Yeah. I just have it as a policy in my life to never trust someone with a 44-gallon burn bucket.
We had
that's
it as
my
a kid.
policy.
We grew up with a 44-gallon burn bucket in our backyard.
And I don't trust our family.
Okay, so real quick, there were two crimes that they think might have been two almost crimes. There were two 15-year-old girls that were attacked 4 months later, January, February, March, April, 3 months later in April of the same year by a boy that they said was about 15 and was like the blonde surfy type. They said he grabbed one of the girls and then the other girl just started screaming and drawing attention to them. And this was at a train station. And so then the kid ran off.
Oh my gosh.
And he matched the description of the surfy teen, but people weren't sure, law enforcement wasn't sure if this was a real crime or if maybe people were so on guard that it's this could have just been a kid coming up and trying to talk to these girls, and they were so on edge that they flipped out. And then 2 years later, a woman was attacked on the same beach while sunbathing with her 3 kids. She was laying there and some guy ran out of a dune, ran from behind a dune and attacked her.
Oh my gosh.
Jumped on her, but there was a bystander that came over and chased him off. And both the woman that was attacked and the bystander that helped said that he matched one of the 6 sketches that was released by the police.
Oh my gosh.
But they never identified him. They could never find who he was. He was driving a white Bug. And so then in 2012, they were able to take that small bit of blood that they were able to get off of Christine's shorts. But it was too weak of a sample to get anything other than it was for sure male DNA and blood type.
Oh, shoot.
And then in 2014, they went to pull out the semen sample and they could not find it. It was misfiled.
Oh, no.
And they had made a point to talk about how carefully they had harvested and kept that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Oh, and the man, the guy that was accused in 2020, that was a possible suspect.
Yeah.
He went to high school with one of the girls. I don't remember which one. I think Marianne. He went to high school with Marianne.
Oh.
And he was an avid surfer and would have been 15 at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Creepy.
But you'd think...
Did any of them have connection to law enforcement where they could have maybe
Yeah, it's a good question.
arranged for those samples to be lost?
Not that I know of, but I think that Derek Percy and Christopher Wilder came from affluent families. I don't know about Alan Bassett.
Right.
Yeah.
So...
Sorry, Oliver's riding back and forth outside the window on the Segway on the lawn.
Oh, he's so cute.
He needs his mom back.
Well, that's pretty much it.
Oh my gosh,
Still unsolved.
Nettie.
That's the Wanda Beach murder.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. I just couldn't get it off my mind. I couldn't even sleep last night. I just kept thinking just about those poor girls. What a terrible, violent way to go. And just that's left on their families.
Yeah.
Just left. And
Yeah.
And like the wake of like not knowing who the perpetrator was. And so all these other families are like, could have been our family member.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the police were really confident, like in the months, especially after the crime, they felt like they had so much evidence that they were like, this is just a matter of time. We're gonna solve this for sure. We're gonna solve this. And
Yeah.
there was always a hole with each suspect. There wasn't quite enough
Mm.
but what really gets me is Christopher Wilder getting out of the country. And they did, like, the police, I think, did a pretty good job on this case.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they did really delay on questioning Christopher Wilder. Really, really did not get right to it. They like prioritized questioning other people. And so, like, Christopher got wind that he was a suspect. And he had been, one of the reasons why he was a suspect was that he had been, like, right away, not just a few years later after the marriage, but he was a suspect right away. I forgot about this part. He was a suspect right after because he had been accused of raping a 13-year-old girl.
Ugh.
And he said it was a gang rape and he was brought into it by the other boys that he was hanging out with. But the girl, the victim, said, no, it was not a gang rape. It was just Christopher Wilder. He is the only one that raped me. The other boys stood and watched, but they did not participate, which is what the boys said. And they said that Christopher was older than them. He was like 17 at the time. And they were, so this had been, the gang rape had been 2 years before the Wanda Beach murders. This girl was 13. The boys were 15. Christopher was 17. And he convinced the judge, even though the victim
And
said it
the
was just him
witnesses.
and the other two guys, but the other two guys weren't from a rich family. Christopher had money and had a dad that was like on his side. And the judge said something to his father, like, well, has Christopher received any sex education? And the dad was like, oh, Your Honor, I have taught him, but clearly I need to teach him more. It was very much like old boys club, like, all right, you teach that young man.
geez,
And the
gross.
father, oh yeah, I'll teach him. So that was why he was pulled in as one of the immediate suspects, as he had been accused of raping this poor 13-year-old girl. And then she wasn't even believed by the court. Like the judge believed one person.
Why is it better if you're gang raping than just raping and making somebody else watch? Like, it's always like,
Because
both of
he
them are
said
terrible.
he was coerced, because he was able to blame it on the bad
'Cause it
influence
wasn't
of
his
the other
fault.
boys. Yeah.
Ew, gross. I hate that.
I hate it.
Why women don't come forward. Oh my
boy.
gosh.
Oh, it's just, and just this whole, I think he's sorry. I think he's sorry.
It's
He
like
learned
that
his
Brock
lesson.
Turner thing where it's like, don't punish my son for 20 minutes of a bad decision. And it's just
Like,
like,
what about that girl? Like,
what
her
about the
whole
girl
life?
and the rest of her life? He's a swimmer.
Well, that one makes me really
won't get
angry,
into
too.
it because I think people who listen to this are on our side. So
I think so too.
we're all of the same opinion.
So that's the Wanda Beach murders. That's officially the end. Thanks. It is
Crazy and creepy.
very sad. I thought that maybe a fun thing to do would be to read a creepy kid story at the end, because they're creepy but still kind of fun. Like a short creepy kid story from Instagram.
To lighten the mood.
And I do follow someone, and I believe I saved some.
Creepy Kids Reddit.
Okay, creepy kids things say.
Creepy kids things say.
Creepy kids things say.
Creepy things kids say. Okay, this is a segment that we're going to try this week and maybe forever, where we talk about creepy things kids say or talk about. And so this is someone from creepy kids think. Oh my gosh, creepy things kids say Reddit. One time I was using my phone at bedtime. 2 minutes later, my son came in with a knife and said, "You better sleep." I told my wife, then for some reasons, 4 seconds later, he says, "I said go to sleep." It took an hour to calm him down. Then it just says, "Thing is, he was possessed by an evil spirit." And then there's a space that says, "The house was haunted."
Oh my gosh, that's it.
Thing is,
Creepy.
Here's my kid was possessed, guys. He would never pull a knife on us.
oh my gosh. Oh, you want one more?
Okay.
At breakfast with the family, this is another from Creepy Things Kids Say. At breakfast with the family one morning, my 3-year-old told me she was going to cut my face off, hang it on her wall, and pour duck sauce on it.
Gross.
I'm going to choose to take this as a compliment and not a threat. My face and duck sauce are two of her favorite things.
Oh my gosh, when Zane was like 5 at the dinner table, he just would like look at me and then start being like, take your arms off, take your eyeballs out, put your eyeballs in my eyes, put your arms on my legs.
He wants your arms to be his legs. Oh my gosh.
He would just like take me apart.
Arms off, onto me, eyeballs out, put them in my eyes.
Now I have your eyes.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh, well, creepy kids things say indeed.
Creepy kids. We can start a new Reddit called Creepy Things. No, Creepy Kids
Things say.
When I try to say it right, when I absolutely try to say it right, I say it wrong.
Oh, the funny.
When I try to say it wrong, I say it. Yeah, I don't know.
Should we close out?
Yes, thanks for listening. And we'd love to hear any stories. Please give us a 5-star rating if you could be so kind.
It'll help our podcast.
And a nice review. If you write something, it's I think it boosts.
It helps us out. And like we love help.
We find it valuable.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
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 We did it. I'm going to come up with a bunch of creepy stuff.
Yes.
Awesome.
Creepy kid
I
things.
like the funny, creepy story at the end. I think that's
Yeah, I
fun.
love it when it's kids because it's always a little bit funny when it's a little kid saying.
Yeah. What I hate is adult creepy stories.
Here's one. Looking over to see what my 5-year-old niece was drawing, I was almost too afraid to ask who it was. A girl that cries is all she told me. I didn't want to know if it was in our house. And this was the picture.
Oh, geez.
A girl that cries. Once again, we are the Spooky Darlings. This is Jeanette. If you have any questions, comments, or stories, or suggestions for a topic you would like to see covered, please email us at thespookydarlings@gmail.com or hit us up in the DMs on our Instagram page at the Spooky Darlings Podcast. Our Instagram is also where you will find pictures that accompany each episode. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, downloaded, rated, and reviewed so far. Our best advertisement is word of mouth, so please share this podcast with your friends. And a special shout out to everyone who helped us reach our 1,000th download milestone. We are blown away by the support and the amazing feedback we have been getting. Thanks again for listening. Please take a moment and give us a 5-star rating. 5 stars. Before we disappear into the shadows, don't forget, we're still sending out vinyl stickers. Leave us a rating and review and email us proof to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, along with your mailing address, and we'll send you some spooky snail mail while supplies last. And if your heart is still mourning that tote bag, may we gently tempt your way toward our merch store at thespookydarlings.printful.me. Treat yourself. You deserve it. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay spooky.